Today I'm going to be presenting a PowerShell script video on how to automate reservation and filter ads into a DHCP server. So normally when you're making reservations in a DHCP server on Windows, you need to create a reservation here. You type in new reservation, add all this information in, name of computer, or device, a description, and then the MAC address and the IP. And then if you're going to add filtering onto that and allow or deny based on MAC address, you would place a filter in the allow folder. So you create a new filter and you add in a couple fields. So the MAC address and then a description here. I just used the description field for the computer's name so you can kind of reference them back and forth. So for scripting purposes, we'll start with our PowerShell file, and this may run long, so I might have to cut it short and then just show you the tutorial or the script finished running. So we'll see. So first here I'm just going to read in the IP address . And first it's going to check what the if the IP address is already in there or not. And I'm going to just put clears in here so that the text goes away after the user inputs it. We'll do a try. So, and I'm skipping all comments because I really think I'm going to run out of time here. Reservation object we're going to call this, and this is just creating an object out of information that it gets from the DHCP server v4 reservation commandlet. DHCP server v4. So we're going to put it in the computer name, and this is actually the name of the server, and the server happens to be that IP address, and then we're just going to plug in our IP address attribute, which is the variable we made up top. And then if it errors, so if it's not in the server, it's going to error, and on that action it will stop. And it will skip the rest of the statement here in the try, and we'll catch it right here. And so if it is not in the server, we want to be able to add it, and in the catch statement is where we will add it. But if it is, we want to have it print out what is or who has that IP address. And the best way I found, and I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but the objects just seem to make sense to me. So we're creating an object, new alias, new object, and PowerShell object. Okay, and right now it's blank, so we're just going to take that object and then start giving it a couple new attributes. So the first thing I want, and my VM here is kind of slowing down, device name, and we're going to use our object we created when we called the get reservation, and from that we're going to pull the name attribute. So because it's an object, it's got all those attributes that come with that function, and that's going to be the device name. And second thing here, person again, and I see I made a mistake there. So add member user is the name of the header, where it'll print out like a header, so it'll print device, user, and then any other ones I decide here. So we'll do our reservation object again, and description, because remember I was using the description field for the username. And then the next one is kind of a preference thing. I don't like when MAC addresses print out on the screen with hyphens. It takes too much space. So, I mean, to each their own. So, reservation, and for some reason in that commandlet they call it client ID. Maybe there's a reason for that, but I don't know it. And then, so I'm just pulling that MAC address into the MAC variable, and then now I'm going to take that variable and I'm going to match or replace any hyphen with a colon. And then I'm also going to print the wireless MAC, which is our MAC variable. And then I'm going to do the IP address. Which is, of course, that variable there, and I see it made an error. So that's really all this top part does. So it'll store all that in there, but now we want it to actually write to the console, so we'll write output, and our person variable, format list, and it'll come out nice and pretty. You can copy and paste, send it on its way. So if it fails and it isn't in the database or the server, then we want to actually add it. So this is what the catch statement does, or section of this script anyway. So we're going to write to the host, this IP address is currently not reserved, so that our user knows, and is available for use. So we're not taking anything in there. What we're going to do though is grab a response from the user now. So we're going to go response equals read host, and then would you like to add a new reservation for this IP address? Yes or no? Okay, and once we have that response, we need to evaluate it, so we will take it, the response equal yes, oops, and then we'll start our if statement. And then we'll do a bunch of stuff. However, if the answer is no, we need an else. So our else will be just a statement to the user saying nothing's done, really. Nothing has been added. Server quitting. Okay, back up to the if statement though. So what we need is a description, because we have a description field that we need to populate. We also have a, what was it, a MAC address, and then we've got our computer name. We'll start with those three. So first, our description is going to read from the host, please enter the first and the last name of the user assigned to the chosen IP address. Okay, and basically the same thing for all these, so read host is fairly obvious. Now, if you weren't sure in the beginning, enter the chosen computer wireless MAC address. And it should really say computers chosen, but I was having problems with hyphens, and I suppose you could use some regular expressions to fix that, or some evaluation, but this is quick and dirty. And that brings up another good point here. If you were going to use this in production, you'd probably want some regular expressions that weeded out errors that a user might enter, like incorrect formats of the MAC address. So if some of the digits are missing, you'd want to make sure that it's not going to add it or try and then break. Computer name, enter in the computer name. But we don't have time for that. And then again, this is where you actually call add DHCP server v4 reservation, and then the name of the actual computer now, and so it's not asking for the server right there, but it does ask for the scope ID, and this is the range on the DHCP server you have set aside for whichever one you're going to add it to. So if you had more than one range on your server, you would maybe have a couple of scripts or another variable for this. But I only have one range. And then, so we've got our IP address. Now we enter in our IP and client ID, which is your MAC address. And then I think the last thing is our description, which is, again, the name of the user. So my variable isn't very descriptive there, I guess. But. And then you write host, and this is just for fun. You don't have to be this informative, but I thought I would try. For description has been entered into the wireless DHCP server. So you can see, I guess I've kind of decided that I was going to make this my wireless DHCP server. So that you could use this for wired or wireless. Maybe I should just take that out. I'll take that out. That doesn't really matter. Okay, and then you also have to remember add the filter. So now we're done with the reservation, but we need to add the DHCP server v4 filter. And then since I have a list of allow or block or deny, I'm gonna specify that. And then now, for whatever reason, it says MAC address. And then you put in your MAC. So Mac and description. And remember, I'm just, for the description on this, I'm using the computer name. So put that back in there, write to the host, let the user know that we've gotten this far and hopefully it's been successful. We're not doing any checking here, so this isn't fail proof, but it should work for our purposes. And then down here we're again going to print it out so that the user can see what's going on. So I'm just going to go back up and copy my person that I had from before. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like I did use wireless Mac up there too. Well, this is my wireless DHCP server then. Okay, so I do have to change some things though. Device name is going to be computer. And user is going to be description. And then here's where I changed the MAC address again. So I need to. So the MAC was brought in up top, but I hadn't changed it to hyphening yet because for some reason sometimes it was breaking when it didn't get fed in with hyphens. So I leave it that way and then I change it at the end. And then MAC, and then IP, I think, and then we write it out again. So we will do write output person, and format it list. Okay, so now all you have to do is save it, and normally while you're doing all this stuff you should probably run it to make sure you don't have any typos along the way, but I'm just going with the flow here, I guess. DHCP, yes.